Yo, so the opinions and views expressed in this podcast are that of our own and the future Bachelor podcast only, and not affiliated with any outside party or entity or anything like that. This fun podcast, though, may include some adult language.
Future Bachelor podcast.
So why don't we get into what we like to do here? It's that time to talk about Bachelorette on our show! But before we get talking Bachelorette, YouTube, go ahead and subscribe, smash that thumbs up button, and hit that notification bell so you can get notified every time we drop new Bachelor content just like this. And if you just did, well, I just gotta say, huge shout out to you. Ooh! Air horns for you. Oh, man. V, like we said earlier, it's week 4 of The Bachelorette. Where do we start?
Well, we start first still in LA. And Jesse comes to the men and is all like, Rachel, Gabs, not here. Before we even get to Jesse, we already are hearing some ticky talks, some chitty chats around the house where, you know, there was the big blow up with how people said shit about Gabby last week, people saying whatever. Obviously, Meatball got to stay, as we can see. And Hayden is already having some chitty chats where he's, saying how the girls overreacted to his whole rough around the edges comment. And that, he's like, so when my dumbass says rough around the edges, which is whatever, bitch, that's what you said about Gabby, which is just foreshadowing to more shit that he's going to get into.
What is wrong with these people? I get it. You don't think everything is going to be put on TV, but that's going to be put on TV.
Come on, just get it together. He's already fighting a losing battle by saying that he thinks that both girls overreacted. It's not a good look in general, because you're still going after the other one, right, supposedly.
Yeah.
But whatever, Jesse comes in, tells them that the girls are outie, and they're all like, what? And they're like, and you're about to be outie too. And you're heading to the city of love, which in the past they've said is Virginia. They've said is Cincinnati. They've said is whatever. They've said is literally anywhere in the U.S. And they're like, actually, you're going to France. Ooh.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely more romantic than Cincinnati. So
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, so this is going to be a little different. This time around, they're not just going there. They're picking one or two guys to go and hang out with Gabby and Rachel in what?
Paris.
Yeah, in Paris. So they get there, the guys are, did they announce the boat yet? Is this where the boat gets announced? Or
I think the boat gets announced when they get there. It's the whole idea is that it's not just going to be any old, they're staying in hotels or whatever. They're staying on a cruise trip that's going to take them to their next location as well. And they kind of have their own special bro pads per team. Because as you know, they're part of their own parallel journeys. One is Team Rachel, one is Team Gabby. And they each get their own areas of the ship that they're kind of sequestered into.
What's the guy's name that's starting to talk about how he's not wanting to be going for Rachel, he feels like he's
Logan.
So this is another between that
Chica.
Logan and Hayden. Those are the two things that are kind of weaved throughout this episode.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, let's talk about the first one-on-one date.
Yeah. So the first one-on-one dates are Tino for Rachel and Jason for Gabby. Mm-hmm. So Tino is definitely already kind of is a front runner in the lead. Is one of the main guys that Rachel's.
I mean,
really
he's going to the end.
Yeah. Rachel's really got her eyes on him. They're having a lot of romantic makeouts in the rain. They make some crepes. She says she really likes him. They are having the full romantic Paris experience. They're really feeling it. They're really opening up to each other. They're talking about having kids. They're talking about balancing her career and his, stuff. They're talking about it all. They seem to be in it to win it.
Yeah. Totally. I mean, and then, through the rain, Gabby and Jason are also having their date. They go hat shopping.
They get sized for some berets.
Yeah.
Gabby's hilarious as always.
I mean, I don't know if she's hilarious. This kind of brought back like memories of like when she would be on dates with Clayton. And I'm just like.
But this time I thought she was funny. I at least thought her like, I look like a baby. I look like the queen from Snow White. I thought that was funny. Because
she was like, I look like a
chef.
chef. Yeah, I mean, she was wearing it like fun. Is there something they changed about Gabby this episode? Like, did she get like a new hairdo or like her eyebrows or something? I just feel like she was looking different this episode than past episodes. Did you notice that?
I don't know. I don't know if they've just been like doing her makeup differently or something.
I was just wondering if you noticed that too. But yeah, so yeah, they get hats. Then we're back with Rachel and Tino. They're making some crepes and
they do at one point kind of the girls meet up in a cafe to kind of talk about how it's going before they do their dinner portions. And the guys are like talking and like both vibing about how they're like, this is a great day. We're having the best days ever. And like the girls are, look at them. Like, this is great.
I will agree that this is a cool aspect of having like two bachelorettes. It's like, when you go on your double dates and you get to like canoodle about, your guys.
Yeah, like,
or your
how's
girls.
it going, girl?
Yeah. Gabby is mentioning though about Jason that he's not much of a talker.
No, he's a quiet guy.
Yeah, but I mean I kind of pit him as the villain, I think, before the show even started, because he just has villain like looks. But you can't always judge a book by a cover because he kind of seems kind of sweet.
He seems sweet, and he was the one he talks about like in his dinner portion with Gabby when she kind of presses him like, yo, like, I feel like I have to pull shit out of you. And he's all like, I'm a really private person. I'm just kind of like very reserved, which explains why he was the guy who just recently, I think, made his account go public. Mm-hmm. So we'll see if that plays into a little bit more as this goes on. I hope
I wonder if
bad.
That's because like they're like, oh, sorry. Technical difficulties. I wonder if that's because like this was the episode where he's going to be featured. It's like, we need you to have some type in their contract. They need to be able to.
Yeah, I'm sure ABC says something like that. But he talks about how he's had his own trauma, I think, related to him playing tennis or like growing up doing competitive tennis or something, whatever. But he is in therapy, which makes Gabby feel some kind of way.
You know what it is in tennis though? It's like if it's always about love. Get it? Oh man, that's not a good one. No.
Wow. You were trying with that one.
I know, but I mean, this is the Bachelorette, so I figured we would.
But, of course, Gabby loves that he goes to therapy and that he's, like, working through his own shit. She obviously talks about how she's gone through a lot of therapy with her mom stuff, which I saw some tiki-talkies about her mom, which her mom is, like, fully Mexican and, I think, like, Apache, like Mexican and stuff too. So
I really wonder what the
Gabby
deal
is
is.
a Latina.
Yeah, I really wonder what that is, because like, oh man, when she talks about it, it's like it almost seems like I just don't understand like what's going on with the mom situation. She's like, yeah,
I literally think the mom just doesn't is totally out of there. I don't know.
For what reason though? Like, was
she
Gabby a bad child?
I'm getting the vibes that her mom like kind of didn't want to be a mom.
Huh. Interesting. I mean, yeah, that's so crazy. Anyway, so what happens next?
So, both of those guys get their roses from these one-on-one dates. Things are looking great. Rachel's feeling great after this date with Tino. Gabby's feeling great after this date with Jason. And now Gabby's up first to have a group date. So her group date we're really knocking out these like trends in Bachelor Nation lore quick. They're doing a boxing date. They're going to box. They're going to, really get.
This is the lamest boxing date ever, though.
It was the lamest boxing. It wasn't even that aggressive, which maybe that's because they've been almost too aggressive in the past. I feel like it barely focused on the boxing. They did a lot of grandstanding, a lot of like confessing their love from the ring.
They usually save that for when there's like a confrontation between two people, right?
Right. Yeah.
And there's not really too much confrontation happening.
Not in Gabby's
people.
group. Not in Gabby's group, I don't think.
Yeah.
Like her group seems pretty Her group seems pretty like on par. They all do a great job.
Well, this is kind of where like Rachel started getting a little annoying to me in this episode with her.
Rachel's
like,
insecurities are showing through.
Yeah,
she's feeling some kind of way. She comes to this date and she invites her dude to this date. And also, this is obviously tons of producer manipulation as well, because they're like, let's bring Rachel and her guy to the date. And Rachel obviously gets to sit next to Gabby in like their little booth, because it's somewhere on, I think it's like on the ship that this is like located.
Yeah.
And the dudes, Rachel's dudes, are across the ring, like in a group. And you could tell just the way that it was set up that they kind of were either told to stay in that area, and plus like with how the lights are, you can't really, it's hard. I don't think you're like really able to vibe with
I mean, what usually there's at least one person that's willing to like break the rules and like, but no one wants to seem like they want to stray from the pack to be like, because once you do that, you kind of put yourself in the villain realm, like,
right.
Like if you go up and get like your one-on-one time and people are just like mad because they didn't think of it first or something.
Especially because it's like not technically Rachel's date. It's not Rachel's date. So I wouldn't even like, as the dudes, her dudes, I wouldn't even be in the mindset of, whatever.
Plus, you
got
like, your guys over there boxing and stuff. Like, you're doing everything to distract these guys, like, from, like thinking about what's actually supposed to be happening. But, I think, I think, like, it wasn't fair, like, for Rachel to be thinking, like, about herself in this moment. But it's almost like you said, the producer manipulation happening, because every other episode, it seems like it's just going back and forth between, like, these girls, like, somehow getting, I don't know, like, feeling like shit, and it's not always at the same time,
Real, and I think it sucks that they like brought Rachel and her dudes onto the dates, because then Rachel's like just feeling insecure and jealous, because she's like watching all these guys say how much they love, Gabby and whatever, how into Gabby they are, and like doing all this stuff for her, and she's sitting there and being all like, how come I'm not seeing this effort for my dudes? I was turned down like thrice last week. Like, what's going on? I feel like people aren't, stepping up to the challenge. And so she gets super upset. And like to the point where like we barely even know what happens with the end of Gabby's date. Like, she gives Spencer the belt, like, but we barely even know the rest of her own date. Like, it just kind of like folds into us seeing Rachel go and yell at her dudes. She like comes in like all upset, crying, being like, as you can tell, I'm upset, and bitches them out for being all like, you guys didn't make me feel special at all. And she's even like in her like interviews and stuff saying how she felt more wanted or more whatever, like desired by Clayton. Like, it's rough.
So is this the beginning of Clayton's redemption arc?
Oh, I swear. I know, he's like not even here, and he's making his own redemption arc just because like some of these dudes, because of like the situations around the show.
Yeah. So we fast forward a little bit, and we get to Rachel's group date, which is the most awkward thing I've seen.
Bullshit.
So let's talk about this a little bit. The guys walk into just these people making out, like, forever.
Out, and not even, I'm like clenching. I can't. It's just like these two French folks just kissing, but in the most gross way. Like, it's just, they're making out, and they're like, oh, sorry, we didn't see you there. And they're like, we're gonna talk about, the art of romance.
Imagine if they were both separately married. There's just like their class they teach together. You know what I'm saying? And they're just like, yes, this is how we teach.
That'd be so French, though,
like, for being like a French, like, kissing class or romantic class, there was not much tongue. Ironically, French kissing, like, you would think there would be more tongue. They were just kind of like a lot.
That's why I'm saying their makeout was weird. You would think there'd be more tongue. The guys have to go through this gamut of different romance things. The first thing they have to do is flirt, and none of them, it's awkward. Like, I don't think, it's hard to just like go up to somebody.
Who was the guy that got the date the movie date last time?
That was Zach.
Zach, yeah. Oh, man, I felt so bad for him, man. Oh, my goodness.
She went in, and he just was, like, kind of choking her out. And like, I don't know. And
And
everyone's
Logan, like the faces Logan kept making, like they kept like pointing to Logan. He's just like disgusted by it. First of all, he doesn't even want to be with Rachel, so he's just like.
They keep pointing to Logan because at this point, Logan's already been thinking about, how he wants to switch sides pretty much. He's like, I want to try to do Gabby. At this point, I believe he's already talked to Jesse about how he's all like, the more I think
it
about
comes
it.
after this date, though. I think it does. Yeah. But he goes and he does talk to Jesse at one point, and he's like, I mean, he broke it down as real as possible. And to be honest, like, I mean, this was bound to happen. When you put the power like that and you split up the guys, it's like, well, what the hell? Like, I know you like me, but I actually like Gabby, so that's kind of like the messed up part. So I thought he did a great job explaining that. But back to this group date, we got men crawling on the ground. We got men just, I don't know, guys just think like twirling a girl around and dancing is the most romantic thing ever, I guess. And I used to think maybe that would be romantic, but it's like, what would you do? Like, what are you supposed to do?
I don't know. I think it's hard to just like go into it like pretty much like cold turkey flirt, because I feel like flirting kind of has to happen in like the fucking French couple was all like flirting is like, with no words, which I'm like, I don't think so. Like, I feel like people can say flirty things or do whatever, but I feel like it's usually situational. There has to be context to flirting. And I think like where you have to just go in cold and try to flirt, I don't even know how to really do that.
I think I would be like, I would like maybe stand back to back or like bump into her and be like, oh, and then just look at her and smile. And then maybe like grab their hand or something like that. Like, I don't know what I would do, but these are things that I would try. Maybe like, at least I wouldn't be like choke holding her or something like that. Or
I know. I'm like, I would compliment her shoes or something.
I mean, can you say things? Like you can talk?
I don't know. But like, that's the thing. They were acting like you couldn't, but I was like, to me, flirting is like so verbal. In like the way
and Rachel wasn't like welcoming of it, and she kind of like was making the guys feel awkward too. So that's what made it.
Because it's an awkward thing. I think if I were in her position, I would also be like, this is weird. Like, and because some of them were just trying to go in for a kiss, and she's like, yo, like, fucking take me to dinner first. But then they had to make out with their hands. She had to guess who they were by smelling their armpits, trying to figure out their pheromones. The one part that really won her over was Tyler. They were like doing some like, little poetry, doing some little like.
But he had wrote a poem the night before. He came prepared.
Yeah, he had written a poem the night before after she pretty much bitched them all out.
Do you think? He got like intel from a producer?
I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
You should write something nice because little birdie told me.
Yeah, Rachel's been feeling some kind of way. You should write something nice, and then he had it. He had it on hand, ready to rock and roll. And honestly, it was very sweet. He got a little emotional. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, Logan ends up talking to Jesse. Then we get to the rose ceremony. This is where Logan plans on having a conversation with Gabby. I really don't know how you do this. Like, do you go?
I don't know how you do this either, because they still seem like they've sort of split up-ish into their respective camps for like the rose ceremony. So I think he was going to see if he was going to be able, I mean, if I had to think about it logistically, I'm sure he was going to try to talk to, he already talked to Jesse. I'm sure he was going to try to talk to producer and be like, yo.
So let's talk about Hayden and his dog.
Bro, Hayden, aka Young Republicans wanna be motherfucker. Hayden is trying to win his way back into Rachel's heart after she kind of like he was already teetering on the edge from last week because of what he said about Gabby and whatever. And so he thinks the way to do it is to talk about his dying dog, that he's all in on this dog. Rambo, which is only the name of a conservative person's dog. I'm already against this man. And so he has a whole like picture book. He's telling all the horrifying details of his dog's cancer.
And he got all these nasty like dog toys and shit. Like, I'm just like, dude, you're a loser.
it's obviously they've been talking for a while because like he's been paging through the entire book. He brought out the dog toy. He talked about all of it.
Yeah, because the guys are being respectful. Like he's like, oh, he's talking about his dog. He's doing his thing. But eventually he probably was in there for so long that like
Tino comes over and he's like, hey, yo.
Yeah, can I get a moment? And like I didn't really notice it like at first. Obviously, it's just like it felt detached because the idea is stupid, but I didn't think like she was just like, yeah, like, you know, I got to go spend some more time. But he felt entitled to the point where like Rachel should have been like, no, I need another minute to look at this dog book. And so he starts instantly talking shit to the guys when he walks away.
Instantly, like immediately, like, bro, like dumbest move you could do. He's already been talking shit that, you know, Meatball has been hearing. He's already been talking shit about the girls. He's already been comparing, you know, them to his ex and about like, you know,
that right there would have been the, like, I'm surprised it hadn't gotten brought up yet, but I mean, maybe it was in the same day, but like him talking about like, he's like, you know, they don't hold like candle to my exes.
They don't hold a candle to her, like blah, blah, blah. I don't even know if I could see myself marrying like whatever. And then the whole, I don't trust these bitches or like whatever. And then I guess he also made some vulgar comments about Rachel's titties. Who's to say?
Oh man. I mean, I mean, what do you say about them? Oh my gosh.
I don't know. It could just be vulgar where like he's like, yo, look at those fucking knockers, which is like also just like,
dude, I have to tell you, the like calling boobs knockers is hilarious.
It is hilarious. It's literally
oh my goodness. Oh, she said it, not me. Well, yeah, so I mean, Meatball goes and I mean, there's moments where you talk about yourself, or there's moments where you have to let them know. And he felt it compelled to let Rachel know that, you know, Hayden's been talking all this shit. So what happens?
So Rachel's all like, yo, thanks for this. And you could tell she feels bad that she has to like go immediately from Meatball to go talk to Hayden. She's like, is it okay? I need to take care of this. And he's like, yeah, like, I know what you need. Yeah, he's like, I know what you need to do. Like, and Rachel goes and pulls Hayden, and as Hayden's shit talking her, she's coming in, and like it's so funny as she's walking through. The dudes are like, that doesn't look like a happy Rachel, as she's like literally stomping through, and she's like, Hayden, and she comes and grabs Hayden, and she's all like, do you know why I grabbed you? And he's all like, about Rambo?
Yeah, it's probably about Rambo. He's like, wait, you think this is about a
like,
dog?
The dog?
Like, to me, I'm like, this is ironic because it is actually about, like, a female dog word. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, oh, he's all like, yeah, I mean, I've been talking all this shit, like, in the last, like, 10 minutes. I figured it's about that. And she's like, no, you idiot. Like, did you call us bitches? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like... And he was like, no, I would never do that.
That's not in my character. It's
not in my character. That doesn't even sound like me. And, you know, he just sounds like he's lying off his ass. And Rachel's had it. And
she could tell that, too. She could tell that, too. She's all like, I can't handle this. You obviously, like, she's like, there's no reason. She doesn't say Meatball's name, but she's like, there's no reason he would lie to me. Mm-hmm. Like, there's just literally... no reason. Like, she already saved his ass. Like, he already knows he couldn't be, you know, there's no reason. And also, like, Meatball's not conniving like that. I think Meatball's in his heart a dumb idiot. Yeah. And I love that about him. Yeah. Like, I think he's just here for a good time, not a long time.
Yeah.
And, you know, she pretty much is, like, fed up. She's like, Hayden, you're talking out your ass. And he's just condescending. He's, like, being condescending. He's being annoying. And she's all like, adios. And so she, stomps him out. And he's all like, I respect you, blah, 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 but like this or that. I
respect you as a woman, bitch. And it tries to give her a hug. And
she literally does one of these, like where she just like, she's like, okay, bye.
I mean, and then you have to do the walk, the plank. And it was just hilarious. He was like, I really hope that she finds someone that loves her as much as Rambo loves me.
Oh, God.
I love Rambo. And he was serious and crying, like...
I know. I knew a guy like that was, like, literally said the same thing, like, years ago, that said the whole, like, I don't even... he was like, you know, I don't even know if I need, like, a girlfriend or a long-term partner because I've got my dog, and, like, my dog loves me unconditionally. I was like, yeah, it's a dog that depends on you.
I mean, you got like
That's
9
not the
years
same as
tops.
a partner.
Oh man, what an idiot. So, I mean, I don't even know. Like, I can't even see. Do you think like any woman would find him like attractive? Maybe a dog lover, I guess.
A dog, someone who's equally like that crazy about their dog. But I mean, power to him. He's out of there. Rachel's upset. Meanwhile, Gabby's just making out with every one of her dudes. She's having the time of her life. But Jesse's all like, time to call this cocktail party. It's over. It's out because like Rachel's pissed and you guys done fucked up again.
Yep.
And so, of course, Logan's pissed because he's like, fuck, I don't get any time to finesse my time with Gabby. So they go to the rose ceremony, and he's like, really like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Am I going to like deny a rose just so that he's like, and then I won't even have a chance with Gabby? Or am I going to like be selfish and take the rose if I get it from Rachel to like be here another week to maybe confess my feelings?
I mean, I don't know what you do. I mean, I think at this point, like at that point at the rose ceremony, you do what he did. You take the rose because you got to. But you're just kind of adding another like quarter in the piggy bank of because it's time. Like you should have.
You're just adding like another. Yeah, it's just the longer he waits, the shittier it's gonna get. Like he's already past the point of no return, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it sounds like, so that's it. So who ends up going home?
From Gabby's side, Quincy and Kirk. And then from Rachel's side, Hayden and Jordan.
Yeah, there's still like I'm not very impressed by these men at all. There's still guys popping up, and there's not a lot left.
There's still some dudes that I don't even know anything about.
Exactly.
Like Ethan on Rachel's side, barely know anything about him. Michael on Gabby's side, barely know anything about him. Same with Johnny. Like, sure, Johnny got a date Rose like a couple weeks back, but I know nothing about him besides he has floppy hair. And like, we just aren't seeing enough of these dudes.
Yeah.
And
so we get a look at next week's episode, and it looks like it does look like Logan is going to do a successful transfer.
Yeah, like a swap, but not really, because you can't swap with that. My light just went off. But
yeah, I mean, it looks like he walks into the room with Gabby's men, and they're like, "What?"
Yeah, their little compound.
Mm-hmm.
But so we'll have to see how that works, and we'll have to see how that affects those dudes.
I mean, it's about time for a new villain now that we got Hayden out of here. It's just only right that Logan is the next one, right?
Right, and it's going to be interesting to see how that works for the dynamic between Rachel and Gabby, because it's going to be like, like, how do we feel about, letting
It's one thing to deny a rose and then come back with your tail between your legs, but it's another to be taking roses and then denying you and going to the other side. For Gabby to be like, I guess I would be interested. I mean, there was like a spark. I
mean, they were into each other. They definitely had chemistry when they interacted back in the house.
I mean, Gabby let him go and he came back. So that's what we got looking forward to. What else we got for Bachelor Nation news this week?
There was a couple of engagements. Maddie Prewett, known from Pilot Pete season, she is engaged after dating her boyfriend for 8 months. His name is Grant Trout. And she's very much so like a Christian girly. I think she's saving herself for marriage kind of vibe. So very like from Auburn, like that's just kind of the vibe. So I guess congrats to them. Hopefully it works out for them. Yeah.
What else we got?
Also, Bennett he was on Tayshia season, is engaged to his girlfriend, Emily Chen. They have been dating for a year, I guess. And he, says he's the luckiest man alive. So congrats to him.
All these engagements. What else we got?
Well, Tyler Cameron, people were asking like, yo, what's up with you and Matt James? Seems like you guys aren't as close anymore. And he just cited, we've got different priorities now. We just we're going through, being in our own relationships, whatever. And then he also like made some vague comments about how him and Rachel Kirkconnell clash on things and how sometimes she has strong opinions and he doesn't want to hear them, which sounds vague. Also sounds like it could be related because of like that kind of thing. It could be related to maybe how Tyler didn't want Matt to go back to Rachel. Maybe Rachel said some things about the people that Tyler was dating. Who's to say?
Or it could go back to just like her comments.
Yeah. I also thought that the racism bit, but yeah.
Which is sad because I mean, also you know how it goes though, like when roommates, because they were like roommates after.
And they were roommates.
Yeah, they were roommates after his season of The Bachelor.
Yeah, the only reason why Matt James was ever on The Bachelor is because being friends with Tyler Cameron and like doing his own ABC show with Tyler Cameron and being roommates with Tyler Cameron.
I guess it's like, one of those things where, you're like, I'm the reason these people met or whatever. Like you could be one of those people, but it just seems like, sometimes when you're roommates with someone and the girlfriend comes in and you're just like, nah, not feeling it. I'm going to go do my own thing. And then you just get distance between y'all. So. But it looks like Tyler's doing all right. He's got his rollout with his new relationship happening, and
he had that great campaign with Kristen Cavallari's brand Uncommon James, where he got to look nice and sexy in that, and got to be like kissing up on Kristen Cavallari. I wouldn't complain. Seems like he's doing great for himself.
Yeah. Speaking of Kristen, I saw her that she was on Call Her Daddy.
I know. I need to listen. I'm kind of interested.
Yeah, interesting episode. Well, that's what we got for Bachelor Nation news this week. We'll be back with week 5. If you thought I was talking a little funny, it's because I came back from the dentist today and the Novocaine is just wearing off. Like my lips, do weird things and stuff too. So, yeah, guys, catch us next week with week 5. It should be a good one. I'm as uninteresting as the guys are, like I'm still into this season. It's not like
I'm into the dynamic of the season for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, we'll catch you next week with that.
Future Bachelor Podcast.